Surprising myself how good this feels. Okay, 103 days out, and I'm pretty glad that Saturday's session was a little bit of a shit show because it made me realize I need to make some major changes with how I'm setting up my training. Because where I'm screwing up has 100% been a matter of ego getting in the way of me recognizing what I need to be doing. Because when I have been my absolute strongest, I've been able to handle an insane amount of workload and volume, and I like to take pride in the amount of work that I'm able to do in training. But the problem with that is coming out of the diet and ramping food back up on a single day, I feel like I can smash it and train the way that I want to, but I just haven't built back the level of conditioning necessary to be able to sustain that for an entire training week, let alone for an entire training block. So we're going back to true conjugate on the mains so I can take advantage of that exercise rotation to avoid cooking myself as hard. And then on everything else we're doing, we're going to take a major cut back in workload so we're not cooking ourselves on everything else we're doing. If it isn't obvious at this point, the hope is putting down the pads will let me use the ER rack for today's max effort floor press. I think when we squish in, we might have to drop it down one hook, but this will work for empty bar first warm up. And the big reason we're running a floor press today is, number one, I'm usually about 15% weaker on a floor press than I am on a comp bench, so it's going to be a little bit of a load limiter. And number two, because I don't have the leg drive to hold my rib cage up from the bottom, it's really going to force me to get the upper back on well, and that's something I need a little bit more of in my comp bench right now. Rack height's down one, so we'll see if it works a little better. Could probably drop one lower now that we got weight. Thank you.
One or all the way?
Just one. We'll test this out since we got it. And even if I'm not touching my chest on the floor press, because my rib cage is less high, it actually feels like more range of motion than my comp bench, and I think that's probably part of why it is a load limiter for me. With that, something I'm deliberately going for in the bottom is when my triceps contact, I'm trying to use that to help me pull my chest up to meet the bar, and that's where a lot of the upper back magic on these happens. Got a little of that chatter still kicking around from squat day, but in general feels good enough that we can take definitely more than one more jump. We'll make sure to wake up a little bit for this one to ensure that we have more than a couple jumps left. Yeah, I think we can go at least 315. And if you can't tell, the only downside of this setup is that the ER wants to tip when I throw her back, but we got Darrell to do the counterweight. Plan is just a single here, and if she moves, we'll take another jump for another single. I want to assume that I definitely can go up from here, but I also don't want to take any sets for granted considering how bad Saturday's squats went and felt.
Morgan.
Just not put chalk on right?
Yeah, she just put like 2 strips. I was like, cover your head.
What a loser. It's so weird because like setting up before I put pressure to the bar, it feels so low, and then once I sink. And we're taking another one. Because with how it's feeling right now, being a pansy on the entire squat workout, I think I did catch a little bit of recovery back. 355 here for this one. And like, considering how Saturday went, if this does feel like shit, we'll be okay leaving it here. If it doesn't feel like shit, we'll be okay going up. Pretty okay with that one. So we're going 375.
Let's go, Seth. There we go.
Surprising myself how good this feels. I'm just relearning how to floor press. Like taking advantage of that lat pull and then just pressing off of it. Now, this absolutely pains me to say, but I need to remember that the whole point of this phase is not getting overly excited and cooking myself. So we're going to move on. And as far as trimming back goes, going to eliminate the downset work set, going to eliminate the secondary press from this day. So we are moving on to some JMs, which we're just going to run on the floor because we're already set up here. And the hope here is that I can take from what we gained running these on the camber press bar and make the range of motion a little bit less pathetic looking on the straight bar. Glad we didn't go up on floor press because I got a little bit of elbow spice going on, so I think we'll probably just stay here and see if we can get it to smooth out with a plate before we do anything too silly. Currently regretting my decision of going up on the rolling extensions last week because I did get a little bit pissed on that set, and I have been doing prep work for it, but apparently it just needs a little bit more time, so we'll not be too silly here and see if we can smooth out a plate. If this one does feel significantly better, we will take a jump, but if it just feels okay, we'll keep her here and just keep looping things up. Definitely better, but not better enough to want to put more weight on. So we'll run another here. Because if you have tendon irritation, the secret sauce is not to avoid the tendon, but also not to really piss it off. And if we can do work that lets it feel better over the course of a set, that's going to help us desensitize and build some tolerance back up. So that's what we are accomplishing right now, even if the loading is embarrassing.
And tendon pain doesn't have to be a giant lingering pain in the ass if a lifter knows how to handle it. So if a lifter joins the team that has a pissed off elbow, knee, shoulder, whatever, what I'll have them do is run through my range of motion assessments as well as post all of their training so I can figure out what is going on, whether they're putting themselves in a bad position, whether they don't have access to the positions they need, or if it is as simple as a strength or tissue tolerance deal. Once we have that determined, we set them up with a plan including movement prep, warm-ups, accessories, and main lift modifications so we can get them back on the right track. So if you're sick of being stuck in training, doesn't have to be a tendon thing, hit link below, sign up for the team, and we will get you rolling.
I left the other pair of reds out optimistic that I'd be able to use them today, so yeah, embarrassment. But what I'm telling myself is that by making this call, we are going to be giving ourselves more room to climb. Almost died getting on the mat, but round 3 here. Felt significantly better on that one than the first one, so mission accomplished, and it actually kind of got hard towards the end, so double mission accomplished, I guess. And I think the hardest part about vlogging this whole process right now is I hate that my training looks the way that it does, and I hate that I'm so far behind where I want to be or think I should be or where I have been. And the reason that's difficult, and I think that's bled into me making some poor decisions with the shape of my training as of late, is I want it to come back as fast as possible so I can stop feeling like I am so far behind, not just for my own eyes, but just for other people watching me. And I know there are some people watching this right now probably thinking that I'm a dumbass that's not going to pull it off by the meat and I'm going to suck and that I wasted all this time cutting. But what I got to remember is if there's a dude thinking that, he is not me, because he wouldn't have even pushed the diet hard enough to get to this position in the first place, and he sure as shit wouldn't have signed up for a meet on the time frame that I did. And of course, if you're that guy that's talking shit, like, yeah, you would not be able to pull this off, but I'm not you, and I got faith that I'm going to do it, and I know that making the calls that I am is going to give me the chance. So yeah, we're going to get this shit figured out. But don't even worry about it. So on that note, we're getting back on the world's heaviest pec deck to make sure the pecs are strong in that bottom end. And like with the removal of the bigger secondary presses today, I think they're a little bit redundant right now with how hard I've been cooking the dumbbells. So we are going to be keeping the dumbbell press in on the secondary press day, but we're making everything on this day like nice, feel good, squeezy, get a stimulus, but don't roast anything while we're doing it. This machine is so nasty. Like, I waited 5 minutes to get on it just because it's so much gnarlier than the rest of them here. But I think we should be good to go up for the next one. Being brave and taking a 7.5 kilo jump from what we ran here last week, so hopefully it feels appropriate. It's gotta be gross. Yeah, it's gross. We'll run one more here. Camera a little bit closer to this set so it's less in the way, but I don't know. I am very happy with how good this thing's feeling for how terrible it is to use, because trust me, it is freaking terribly difficult. I think that the big advantage of it compared to other pec decks is most pec decks get super light down here. This one's just freaking hard through the whole range of motion. So hopeful that we get better bottom end pec action happening, the better we get at it. Was crapping there. There's no way we could have actually finished that one, but satisfied customer. Was going to go side delt machine next, but buddy that does not want to be in the vlog due to work reasons is currently on the side delt machine, so I will respect his personal space and go triceps part 2. I put my hands on here and I was like, what the hell's going on? Because if you can't see to the camera, this bar's straight, the bendy bar's down there, so I don't know, try the straight bar out, see how it feels. If it feels like it's in the way of execution, we'll get the bendy bar out. But with those elbow feels, I'm going to keep this very light so we're not using the full stack. And we're just going to get a nice squeeze, get a nice pump, feel good, which we're doing a decent job of doing here. So I don't know, this is probably boring. I'll probably cut at some point when I run out of words to say, but as I say every vlog, this thing is magical just because there is not a cable shoved in my face, so I can get right over top of it and just load right into those triceps, and yeah, very squeezy. It's going to take so many reps without the full stack, but elbow's feeling lubed up, so I'm okay with it. Finally, we got there. And switching, oh, that's how that works. Bendy bar back into play. Same weight on the stack here, so 1.5 million reps coming up. So juicy. caught up quicker than the last one at least. And the magical plate loaded delt machine that I want to use is still in use, so we'll just use this guy. Very happy to report that I'm finally at the point where I can just walk into this thing and not look at the stack and have it feel very easy. So we'll do a couple more than go up. Decent little jump, like 3/4-ish of the stack on there, so hopefully it goes well. And if it goes really well, we'll pick another one so we can work our way towards full stack on the delt machine. Only goal here is to not embarrass myself too bad. We're taking another jump. 3 pins from the bottom here, so we're getting there. Was standing beside my camera between sets and the machine got stolen, so hopefully this kid finishes texting and does his set so I can do mine. Can I get my set in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great. Fuck it, full stack. Actually pretty okay with that. Like, remember way back when we first got here and I could barely do like a quarter of the stack? Delts have come a long freaking ways. So we're gonna crank out some rears, and for the sake of eliminating some redundancy, only gonna hit one rear delt slot today, and I'm thinking the single arm reverse pec deck should be the ticket. Forgot how much lighter this machine is than the one I have been on, but it's fine. We'll get us at it with righty, then toss a little bit more on. Gonna go full stack on this guy too, which is less exciting than the side race because it's much less heavy feeling. I don't know if you'll see it in the camera, but just noticed that the roof was leaking there and it's dripping on me, so oh well. Counting it as extra hydration, so we'll crank. Time for ready. I'm okay with this. And so I don't have to share a pull-down machine with Miana. Gonna get on the more spready one. And as we have been doing, keeping her lighter so we can take advantage of the machine's wonderful strength curve and actually pull all the way down. Or at least as low as I can physically get. This thing is so nice. Counting that as good enough for set one. So we shall crank on round 2 here. When I was doing the last set, I thought that I should raise the thigh pad up, but I clearly forgot, so we'll just work with it. And going for slight pause in the bottom, because whenever somebody in the team is struggling with upper back sensation on a squat, if we can get them to pause a pull down and learn to recognize what that squeeze feels like this is the same kind of squeeze I want going on in my lats when I'm under the squat bar, so I can get extra touching here, tends to help with establishing that connection on squats. I'm stoked. Now we're gonna move on to the single biceps movement of the day. Actually, I forgot to unload the pull down, so I'll do that first. Okay, pull down unloaded, but as I was saying, moving on to the single biceps machine, which on one side, like, I'm very excited that I feel this not dead this late in the workout. On the other hand, I do feel a little bit lazy, but I think the fact that I feel lazy should contribute to us solving the being overcooked problem. And for that single bicep movement, we're gonna be jamming on this guy because the other Panada machine, like, it feels really good, but it's almost so easy that it's boring, and this guy I'm very not good at, so we'll put effort into getting more better at her. Remembering to adjust it before I get in this time, finally. Like, it is a good feel, but such a harder movement for me than that standing curl, so hopefully beneficial in terms of growing shit. Thinking we probably can go up for the next set as well, and maybe drop the seat down a hole too. Second thought, we're just gonna drop the seat, keep the loading where it was because that got plenty hard. And like, the advantage of having the seat lower is my humerus is better aligned with the pad, so I can get full elbow extension, and it makes it a little bit grosser. So I'm glad that we didn't add weight because this will be plenty difficult, if you cannot tell by my facial expressions. Yeah, that got spicy. Just gonna get on this one, that's okay. And for today's hip flexor touch-in, got the awkward lighting situation again, but we're gonna run these single leg standing, partially because with the floor presses, I've already done enough getting on and off the floor today, partially because, well, there's people on the other cables and it'll be awkward to get on and off the floor, but partially because Roman was running these in the team today, and something I talked to him about is when you're running these single leg standing, if you lead with the foot, it's not really getting the brace incorporation that we want. So when I'm doing these, I'm letting the rope carry me back into hip extension. Then my goal is to lead by posteriorly tilting, getting those abs on. Then I pull with the foot, and the feel you get is going to be way closer to what we want to replicate when we're bracing on squats and pulling into the hole. And I don't know, these always just feel phenomenal. I think like the big thing with this versus the lying is we get the advantage of being able to be pulled into extension, so we can tuck the pelvis, and that extension pull and pulling out of it, I don't know, it feels magical. So we'll run these. And was a little bit aggressive on loading compared to how I normally run them, but we need to get the hip flexors back in shape, so we shall crank. And for set 2, if I can, I'll move the camera and move the setup so you can get a better picture of what I'm talking about with that pelvic action. Other side opened up, so I'll move the camera. Hopefully the lighting doesn't suck too bad. You're fine. Pardon? Yeah, grab her. You're fine. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot it there.
No worries. Other side opened up, so hopefully you can get a clear picture of what I was talking about, but I am letting the pelvis roll back, so I am in that full extension. Then instead of just kicking the foot, I'm trying to posteriorly tilt, then pull, and it makes it a whole lot gnarlier sensation-wise and more specific to what we want happening on a squat, so feels good. Went out 5 kilos, so is difficult. Time for righty. And when I was setting up the camera, I thought I nailed settings. I didn't realize I'd be directly in a sunbeam, so hopefully you can actually see what I'm doing. Feels good though. Got 10 grams zone creatine in the interest shake to go along with the other 30 grams I've had so far today. But at this point in the training session, I feel like I've hardly done any work compared to how I felt at the end of previous Mondays. And I think considering the circumstances, that's probably a good sign, because the fact that I have had these odd sessions where performance is really good and then I just freaking die the next day, the next week, like, it just tells me that the strength can be there. It's just that the amount of work that I'm doing right now, I can't sustain it with how sad and pathetic my level of being in shape to move heavy weights often got towards the end of the diet. And I think that the difference between this diet and the last one is pushing this one so much harder. I got so much weaker and so much less capable of training that as food ramped back in, as PEDs came back into the picture, like, I shouldn't expect that I can just ramp weight across the board and still tolerate it. There will need to be this building in phase. And obviously right now the goal is not to drop work off indefinitely. The goal is to drop work off enough that I actually can stack a couple of weeks back to back without feeling like I'm gonna freaking die. And once we establish that, we're gonna get a better idea of how the lifts are trending, what the lifts actually need, and then we can look at strategically adding work back in. And I am, in a way, kicking myself a little bit because this entirely was ego-driven and wanted to take pride in the amount of work that I was doing because, well, I like working, I like training hard, I like pushing myself, but it doesn't matter what I like doing if I'm not capable of sustaining it in this given moment. And the only way I'm going to get back to being able to sustain it, well, I probably could force my way through it and just be a miserable sack of shit on 2 out of 4 days of the week. But I don't want to do that. I think that taking the smarter route, the less fun route, will lead to a smoother transition into the meat of the meat prep. And if I can get through these next 3, 4, 5 weeks well, we should be able to start looking at adding in more week work to support that peak. So that is the name of the game right now. And happy with how today went, happy with how today felt. A little annoyed that I didn't go up on the floor press, but I think I'm more proud of myself that I didn't force loading there and take a jump that I probably was capable of, but maybe at risk of putting me back in the shitter. So I think we ended today on a good note across the board, and that's what I got. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this vlog starts getting more exciting in terms of numbers on the bar here shortly, but I gotta remember that I need to lift what I'm capable of on the day, leave a little bit more in the tank that I want to, so we actually can build that momentum. So peace out, have a good night, and I will see you in the team.